This is West Coast Cyber.
Yes, welcome everybody to another episode of West Coast Cyber, Western Australia's premier cybersecurity and infosec podcast, showcasing the vibrancy of our sector in WA, as well as talking about what's going on in the industry globally, across Australia, and yes, here in Perth. I'm your host, Simon Carabetta, and I am joined by two of the most fantastic professionals in the WA sector today. The first is none other than the brilliant cyber communicator, Caitriona Forde. How you doing, Caitriona?
Hi, Simon. Thanks for having me back.
Oh, it's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure having you on the show and, adding your perspective of cybersecurity, which I really, really respect. But talking about respect, they don't get much bigger than this guy in the Perth InfoSec community. He is the Prince of Password Management, the Ayatollah of IoT, none other than Red Piranha's Ben Aylett. How you doing, Ben?
Oh, I'm very well, thanks, Simon. I think you're about to yell, "Let's get it on!"
Ready to rumble. It's an exciting night. I'm loving this. I've been waiting for this episode to kind of come out and do this again. I think once a month is a long wait, but here we are, guys, back again for our second ever show. So I'm really happy to be here. Right, but firstly, I think it would be absolutely remiss of me if I did not say what a month it has been in InfoSec. Am I right, guys? I mean, it has been absolutely huge, and I would probably be wrong if I didn't say, there's probably hasn't been such a big time as what we have right now in cybersecurity. Just looking at some of the top stories over the last few weeks, and again, for me personally, going through and trying to, pick the top stories for this show was really hard because so much has been happening and going on. But Caitriona, there was a really big one in Ireland recently in the health system. What's happening over there?
Yeah, this one's pretty close to my heart, coming from my native land. Their health system has been hit by two separate incidents, so two separate ransomware attacks. It's taken, I think, most of the healthcare system, servers, computer systems, all offline. Talking to family and friends back there, they're saying they're going into health centres, hospitals, and computers are just all black screens, no computers on at all. It's having a huge knock-on effect with cancellations of surgeries and testing and different things. So it's obviously not ideal given that they're in the middle of a pandemic. They are still coming out of lockdown, believe it or not, back there. So to have this on top of it, I can only imagine how stressful it is for them. There's also been reports that it wasn't just a ransomware attack, that it was also a data breach. And that data is now being seen on the dark web, and it has been started to be used by the criminals. I've had reports from family and friends of people receiving phone calls pretending to be from the healthcare departments, saying that, given all their personal information, given details of maybe elective surgery that they've had, and saying, you've paid too much in your bills, give us your bank account details and we'll refund you. The sad part about this is that, you think of older people who maybe don't watch the news as much or wouldn't understand what cyber security is. They're probably falling victim to this right now. So it's wide across the impact it's having. It's been reported as the worst cyber incident that they've had in Ireland to date.
Wow, I mean, I was reading about it as well, and I just could not believe how horrific that is. And we already know cyber criminals are pretty damn low, but how low can you be to hit a health system in the middle of a bloody pandemic? Seriously, I cannot believe that. But again, we're in cybersecurity, and we should expect the unexpected, right? Absolutely horrible stuff, but it just gets worse and worse. So Ben, we've talked about this at length before outside of this show. Ransomware. No, ransomware is not just a buzzword, it's everywhere at the moment. There's not one story I read every day that doesn't, in InfoSec, it doesn't have the word ransomware involved. And we shouldn't pay ransomware. So what's going on with this one?
All right, so this is in relation to a couple of instances where we've seen, AXA in France. They've actually said that if you get hit by ransomware, and if you pay the ransom, we're not going to be covering you for that out-of-pocket expense of paying for the ransom. We'll help you with the standing up of your systems and everything afterwards, but if you've paid the ransom, you're pretty much on your own. And I think they're actually taking the right approach to this. And we really shouldn't be paying ransom for a couple of reasons. The first one is that you're just encouraging the bad guys to keep doing the bad things, but also you could be funding operations overseas in countries that are under sanctions. So you could be violating your own country's rules and regulations in supporting criminal organisations or even terrorist organisations. So that's a very good reason to not pay ransomware. But what do we see in the United States? We've also seen CNA Financial, which is one of the largest insurance companies in the United States. They paid a ransom, and it's the largest ransom ever paid to date. It's $40 million US is what they've forked over. So I don't know. I don't know what the hell the insurance industry is doing. On one hand, we've got one insurance company doing the right thing in the form of AXA France, and I think we'll be seeing more of this as things progress. And then on the other hand, we've got CNA Financial, who obviously they've been caught dead in the water, and they've had no option but to pay $40 million in ransom. And come on, guys, what are you doing? You should be leading by example because it's coming out of your pocket. I'm pretty sure that CNA Financial, they don't have an insurer looking after them. They look after themselves, you'd think. Ransomware, it's the weapon of choice by the bad guys. It is easy. The payoff is relatively good because people keep paying and people are not prepared.
40 million, I mean, that's just absolutely huge. And I really think there needs to be a really wide education piece around this for a lot of organisations about ransomware, why we shouldn't pay. But again, that's a whole nother story for another time. We could be here for hours talking about that, right? This is another really big one. This only happened came to light a couple of days ago. JBS, the US-based food processing company, got done with, again, a ransomware attack. This one was quite interesting because it's so far-reaching geographically as well. So what happens is that the ransomware gang attacked their Brazil HQ, which then basically shut down their networks in North America, so the US and Australia as well. Ben, talk us through some of this one as well, which is absolutely crazy.
Yeah, this is developing very, very quickly. In the matter of 2 days, we've found out that JBS, the initial vector of attack was through the Brazilian offices, which has then somehow impacted the United States and Australian offices. And it just shows that they're not following good practice in trying to segregate business units and then also geographical units. So there's some sort of common thread here between all these offices that's linked them up, and it's allowed this ransomware to move laterally, as we say, within a network without having to leave the network and then come back in through another vector. So they've just managed to sidestep from one country to another, and they've managed to take down the offices across the world. And this gives them extra leverage to try and force a payment out of the victim. We've also got, within 2 days, the FBI is on the case as well. So this is going to have some pretty serious implications. They say that there's some initial indicators that this attack has come from a Russian crime syndicate. And obviously there's going to be some words between the United States and Russia on what's going to be done about this. But, my word, this is an attack on a real critical system. Before we thought critical systems were things like electricity, telecommunications, and water, but we've also worked out with the pipeline attack that fuel and energy, that's a major one. But now they're going after our food, and I don't think it gets more critical than that. It's about time that businesses, instead of trying to be unique and special when it comes to setting up their business and being competitive in their market, that they've also got to look at themselves as important, special and unique and critical when it comes to protecting themselves, instead of brushing it off saying, look, that's just an IT problem. It's time to get serious.
You're absolutely correct. And when you start talking food security, water security, in the infosec space and being hit by ransomware gangs and APTs, that's when it gets really serious in serious business. And again, look, this has real far-reaching implications. Looking at JBS, they are the second biggest food processor, more meat processor in the US, but in Australia they are the biggest meat processor. And they have 47 facilities across the country, including abattoirs, feedlots, meat processing sites, and they have roughly around 11,000 employees, so people working for them across Australia. And again, I've been reading up on the story, and the Queensland Meat Workers Union has come out saying 4,000 of their people may now lose out on the week's wages. So, and now you've got a whole Fair Work Act and the unions involved, and we talk about company responsibilities and all that kind of messy area as well, on top of the cyber attack that's happened to the company. This has massive implications, and it's going to have further down the supply chain, we're going to notice there are going to be issues that are going to present themselves as well. I'm just waiting for a current affairs to pop up with their story about how dare Coles, mark up their meat, 90% or whatever they're going to start scaring people with. But again, the supermarkets should be responsible for that as well and not be doing that, but that's a whole nother issue. This has implications for the regions and people living in rural settings. Isn't that right, Caitriona? I mean, this is
huge. I was interviewed earlier by the ABC, and on the interview there was a lady who owns some sheep that was ready to go to slaughter, and unfortunately they couldn't go. So it's going to hit the rural community as well as the company itself. As you mentioned, employees not getting paid. It won't just be the employees directly off the meat processing, it'll be down the chain. It's going to have a huge implication. So I think we're going to see this for weeks to come. This one's going to be an interesting one to watch. How do they recover? How long it'll take them to recover and get back online. One of the ladies today said they've been promised that they'll be back online in a week, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it's a ransomware attack. The power slam throughout the world, isn't it? It really is. It's just, I'll watch this space for this one. So as horrific as that one is, there's a few other stories here that I've been following as well. So the FBI recently issued a warning about Fortinet vulnerabilities after an APT group hacked a local government office in the US. So the White House hasn't disclosed which government office it is, but FortiGate basically have said that an APT actor created an account with the username Ali to do some really nasty stuff on their network. So that's one to watch as well. Here's another one that just astounds me. The Australian federal government, so Canberra, has basically come out and given in-principle support to the use of digital IDs for use in verifying age for people who are trying to access porn and online gambling. Look, I've followed this story from a couple of years ago. The E-Safety Commissioner, Julian Munn-Grant, came out and said this is not the way to fix this issue. It is a multifaceted issue. It needs a multifaceted approach. There's no silver bullet for this one. So again, that's really something that I've been following closely. And a really good one on Brian Krebs, on Krebs on Security. I've read this one only recently. Great story about bogus reviews on counterfeit Microsoft authenticators on browser extensions. So while there were some really negative reviews about these malicious these apps, there was quite a few positive ones that popped up with generic comments like, it's great and never gives me any issues, and download this and it's fantastic. But really interestingly, the Google accounts that created these positive reviews, Krebs actually followed these and linked them to a lot of other positive reviews on other malicious apps that may still be there or may have since been deleted from the App Store, from the Google Play Store, I should say. So that's a really interesting one as well. But yeah, it has been a huge month in InfoSec, guys, and I'm really hoping that the next time we're here for our next episode of West Coast Cyber, And we got some positive stories, maybe some dogs on skateboards, maybe something that we can have a bit of a laugh track to, who knows. But again, I'm not going to hold my breath on that one. But talking about positive stories, we now have the Red Piranha Threat Report with Ben Aylett. Ben, what's going on this month?
Thanks, Simon. So we've got our usual rundown of the top 5 attackers and the top fishing 6. So let's run through the top 5. In 5th position for the top 5 attackers by country, we've got India, followed by Canada. The United States has also been contributing a lot in the last month. And then, of course, it's been rounded out by the usual suspects, China and Russia. The top fishing 6, so the top 6 campaigns that have been used to, I suppose, disguise themselves to make them look legitimate, to get people to click on links. It is at the bottom, we've got Microsoft, and then followed by PayPal, Amazon.com, RuneScape comes in at number 3, Steam's number 2. That's an interesting change recently, and this has probably been linked to rumours of Steam putting out a new handheld console that will be playing Steam titles. So I think that's got a connection there. And then, of course, the old favourite, Facebook, which has far and away outstripped all the other phishing campaigns, apart from the label that is other. So everything else that is just random. What the?
Yeah, look, every time, like last month, every time you mention RuneScape, I kind of, the hair stands up on my arms, and I'm like, get these PTSD flashbacks, but to 2003. But anyway, that aside, interesting to hear about the Steam. I mean, that Steam console's been coming out for a decade now, hasn't it? Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about tonight. All right, so thank you very much for that, Ben, for Red Piranha Threat Report for this month. Look, guys, we've been, in the lead up to promoting tonight's show, we have been talking about how we're going to discuss breaking into cybersecurity. So, the good way, getting your career kickstarted in cyber, whether you're a student, recent graduate, whether you're looking to transition from something else into cybersecurity, whether you're just a little bit curious and want to know more about it. We're going to talk about that tonight, but no better way to talk about this than actually hearing from people who have who are currently in the industry, who have made their way in through the industry and have, kind of encountered those winding roads and those bumps along the way. So what better people than Ben and Kate, than you guys to talk about your journeys? Look, guys, I've just got a few questions that I want to ask, and hopefully this can give some really good insight to our audience out there. So, look, first and foremost, what do you guys actually do in cybersecurity? We'll start with you, Kate.
I'll go first. I'll go first.
Ladies first.
Yeah, why not? I currently run and deliver training and awareness programs for corporate. So that's basically my passion, and that's what I spend most of my time at right now is training and awareness.
Great. The training and awareness space is such a crucial element across organisations, and I think it's an area that's starting to really become a lot more popular, especially with larger organisations. But again, in that SME space, I can see it becoming a lot more popular as well. What about yourself, Ben?
Well, I'm currently the product manager for Red Piranha, so that means that I've got to, I suppose, be the voice of the customers, which is our MSP partners and end users, and I've got to talk to our hardware. Well, I'm actually the hardware designer as well, but I've got to talk to our software design teams and our platform design teams as well, and try and get that message across. So that's the role of my cybersecurity role within Red Piranha itself.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks, Ben. And what a role that actually is as well. But look, really another question, you probably have this thrown at you all the time, so I apologise, but I guess our audience really wants to hear this. Why did you get into cybersecurity?
Well, for me, cybersecurity was just one of those fascinating things. I'd been seeing, because previous to this, I've been an MSP, and I've been spending about 28 years doing IT support for a lot of people in a lot of different areas. And I think when it was about 2013 or 2015 when I first saw ransomware, and I've been seeing viruses and things and worms previous to this, and it was just a nuisance. But this ransomware, it was something else, and I really sat up and I took notice, and I thought, hang on a sec, this is going to change everything, because they've finally been able to monetize infections. So that sort of got me bit, and I started to pay a lot more attention to cybersecurity as a subject itself. And that started my journey, which began about 10 years ago when I got really interested and I started following cybersecurity leaders on the internet. And I just got more and more into it. It just grabbed me. So every morning I get up and read the news, and it's like reading a spy novel.
All right, that's a really good way of putting it, like reading a spy novel.
Yeah.
Crazy. Well, that's where we are right now in the industry, right? It's just crazy. Caitriona, what about you? What got you? What kind of pulled you in? Was it a spy story like that, or was it some other kind of calling out there for you?
I suppose similar to Ben, I started my career very technical as a systems engineer. I originally wanted to be an accountant, but I realised that numbers were not my thing. And back 20 years ago, the only real other course that I could get into that sparked my interest was computers. So I started off very technical, found myself in a lot of senior technical roles, server administrator roles, exchange server roles and stuff like that. And then I found myself in a lot of leadership roles, service delivery manager for a managed services company, and then the operations manager for a MSP, managed services company here in Perth. But same as Ben, probably about 5 to 8 years ago, I started to see cybersecurity becoming a huge problem for our customers. Ransomware, as Ben mentioned, and experiencing businesses, small businesses, family-owned businesses suffering a ransomware attack and helping them recover from that. But what really, I suppose, stuck out for me back then was the human element. You know, it was always somebody who had clicked on an email that had then let the ransomware into the system. And what I started to see was, you know, the people weren't really being trained on how to identify these risks within a business. Even as IT professionals ourselves, we were like, how did this get in? What's happening back then? We didn't know. And as IT, you were doing cyber, but you weren't really. So for me, I really was passionate about the human element and, you know, teaching people how to identify these. And I think that's what made me really want to transition across. And I knew back then, and I identified pretty early on, that IT and cyber were different. IT, you're thinking operationally, you're thinking about how you make the systems run. Cyber, you're thinking from a very different lens. How do you protect the systems? So I wanted to make that clear transition across. I didn't want to be one of those IT people that done cyber. I feel very lucky that I've had that IT background, and I feel it has helped me in my role. But you know, I do training and awareness, the human side of it. So I think it was more, you know, my communication. I love people. I love talking. You know, that's just what I love doing. So, you know, I think that's what really got me into it. Is I could easily see how I could make a difference to people, and I could see how I could help them understand a topic and an area of their business that can be pretty daunting, really, at times.
Absolutely, and look. I completely understand the security awareness side of it. I mean, I've worked in that space previously, and you have to be a very good communicator. You have to kind of enjoy communicating, because that's pretty much 90% of what you're going to be doing in that role. So fantastic, guys. Look, if I could just ask you a couple more questions. So this is going to be a really good one for our audience. What challenges did you face along the way in your kind of journey getting into cyber? None, apparently.
Well, I'll kick off. I mean, one of the things that people, and I found this in common in a lot of people in cybersecurity, is trying to deal with something called imposter syndrome. You've managed to get yourself into a job or a role or some sort of area of responsibility or expertise, and you quite often look around and think, man, these people around me are absolute geniuses. I know nothing compared to them, and yet I'm doing this thing. And you start to think, you know, is this all a big setup? Is there a camera somewhere? I don't belong here. And yet that's one of the big things that people find themselves dealing with as they progress through their cybersecurity careers, because cybersecurity is such a new industry. and it is developing so quickly. But look, if you ever feel like you don't belong, don't worry. Look around at the people around you and realise that they are around you for a reason. It's because you belong.
What a really good point.
I would agree
think I'll
with
start
that.
actually.
Yeah.
That was great. Kate, what about yourself?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with Ben in terms of the imposter syndrome. But for me also, I feel and still feel a huge challenge is getting business owners in particular to understand that this is a problem. If they haven't suffered a cyber incident, then they don't believe it's real. So having that conversation sometimes, why they need to invest in technology and why they need to invest in training their people. I think for me, I mentioned this the other day to somebody, why I'm so passionate about it is because I have been part of a cyber incident and have had to help people recover. And when you experience it, it's like everything, when you experience it, it's then real. So I think that is some of the challenges that I have faced, is that because not everybody has experienced it yet, it may not feel real.
That's exactly it. And like that imposter syndrome, I mean, I get it quite often in my role. I mean, I'm kind of in the cybersecurity space, but I'm also in the economic development space, which again, I've had no previous experience for. So I'm kind of a double whammy imposter syndrome in this area at the moment. But look, one more question, guys, because this is fantastic, really insightful stuff. If you could give one piece of advice to our audience tonight about getting into cyber, we'll start with you, Ben. What would that one piece of advice be?
All right, any sort of advice I could give, it would be if you want to crack into the cybersecurity industry, get to know people, attend events, get out there on LinkedIn and start producing content.
Ben, you kind of just dropped out for a second there, so we'll go to you, Kate,
Whoops.
with this one.
Yep.
Hopefully Ben can join us again.
Mine, was Ben was saying, attend events. Oh.
Sorry, Ben, you dropped out for a second there. Kate, just what was that? Sorry.
Yes, I was just going to say that, I would agree with Ben. It's very much about just getting out there and meeting people. Networking, Perth in particular, is very much about your networks. I believe that's how I transitioned into cybersecurity so easily, is the networks. But also, cybersecurity is not just technical. There's loads of non-technical roles in cyber, and we need all types of skills in cyber. We need people with different thinking, not just the technical thinking. So I think that if you really are interested in it, there's a place for everybody in it.
Absolutely, and we apologise to our viewers out there and listeners for that little slight technical hiccup. These things tend to happen. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate that. And this is, again, with the kind of audience that we have for this show and this podcast, we really like to give those kind of nuggets of wisdom on getting into cybersecurity, particularly when such a large portion of them are students currently studying cyber, those aspirations to get into the industry, but also alongside that, also people, current professionals in other careers who are looking at cybersecurity from a distance saying, man, I wish I could be in that really cool space right now. So thanks a lot for that, guys. I really appreciate it. And again, a really good segue, talking about security awareness, we now have Caitriona's tip of the month.
Yeah, so I've thought a lot about this one, and I think for me this month it really is about disaster recovery and incident response. Every organisation should have an incident response plan in place and a tested incident response plan in place. You see at the moment these organisations are getting hit by ransomware and they're scrambling. They don't know what to do. They can't have no clear answer as to when their systems will be back online. In this day and age, we should know. You should know how long it takes to get your systems back online. So for me, no matter what size of business, whether you're small, medium, large, corporate, government, whatever, you should have a tested and tried incident response plan in place.
Absolutely. I think Ben would absolutely agree with that one as well. And once again, Caitriona, a fantastic and very relevant tip for this month's show. Thank you very much for that. Right. Well, West Coast Cyber, we are all about WA, and I'd like to introduce our segment now, which is West Coast Careers. So thank you very much to seek.com.au, because I've been scoping them out and looking at what's hot, what's on offer right now for cybersecurity professionals in Perth in terms of opportunities that are out there. And lo and behold, it looks like HBF are really ramping up their security squad over there. It's already a brilliant team. I know some of the members of the team very well, and they've already been expanding, but they're looking to grow. And they are looking for, well, they've got two positions at the moment. They're looking for a security architect lead to join the team on an initial 12-month basis. Look, I can tell you right now, it's a fantastic organisation to work for. So anyone out there who is looking to already in the architecture space, that's one to look out for. So HBF are also looking for a cyber threat responder to join their growing team. It doesn't really give an indication of any length or contract, but I can tell you that this job only went up 2 hours ago on the site. So definitely hit that one up as well. Cyber CX, the giants Cyber CX, they're on the hunt for someone in Perth in the GRC space to work from their Perth offices. So again, talking about the non-technical side of cybersecurity as we were earlier as well. So that's another kind of space that I've seen a lot of emergence coming around in Perth in that particular area. There's a growing need, I think, for people who have the skills to work in the GRC space as well. It's definitely an area that when I do a lot of my education stuff with schools and with students studying cyber, I really advocate for GRC. We need a lot of people who are skilled in that area. And finally, Kinetic IT are currently hiring. They're looking for a security engineer to work in a Palo Alto and Cisco environment and assist in stabilizing, then uplifting the maturity and capability of the existing security functions. So that's on Seek at the moment, as well as a whole host of other jobs out there happening in Perth. And I believe, Ben, that Red Piranha are on the hunt for a BDM as well.
Yeah, we are on the hunt for BDMs, plural actually. So look, if you've got that sales skill and if you've got that sort of knowledge about what it takes to be successful in cybersecurity, and if you want to run with the big boys, so we've actually been sort of put in the same category as the likes of Palo Alto and Cisco and SonicWall and all the others with our recent win in the XDR Awards. So look, if you're looking to join myself and the team at Red Piranha, feel free to get in touch at redpiranha.net.
You heard it from Ben first. Red Piranha, where the big boys play. I don't think we can say boys though, can we, guys? Probably not. Where the big people play, all right?
That's right.
Where the big people. Red Piranha, where the big people play. Where the players are. I love that. Where the players at, they're at Red Piranha. That I should be on your marketing team right there, Ben. Come on, seriously. All right. Fantastic. So, hey, guys, guess what's coming up in about 3 weeks? There's a quiz. What's coming up in 3 weeks?
Big event?
What?
My team has let me down. If I were to say the 3 words, Cyber, West, Summit, what comes to mind? Well, what comes to mind is the 24th and 25th of June at the Pan Pacific Hotel, Perth, a whole host of a lineup, 30 plus speakers, including the Honourable Malcolm Turnbull, 29th Prime Minister of Australia, to head our closing keynote address on the 25th of June. He's following Alistair McGibbon, the Chief Strategy Officer of Cyber CX. We have Tim Watts, the Federal Shadow Assistant Minister for Cyber Security. We have Michelle Price, the CEO of AusCyber, and a whole host of local talent speaking on stage in front of 600 people over 2 days. You can't miss this one, guys. It is going to be the biggest cybersecurity event in Western Australia for 2021. You can mark my words. You can take that one to the bank, guys. You can get your tickets for that one at www.cyberwestsummit.com.au. Early bird tickets are available. It's Friday the 4th of June right now, everybody. They're available until 5 p.m. today. Get your tickets, early bird offer, $119 for 2-day pass. This offer won't last, literally won't last, past 5 p.m. today. Get your tickets. So www.cyberwestsummit.com.au. It's going to be absolutely huge. Brought to you by WA Oz Cyber Innovation Hub in conjunction with the WA Data Science Innovation Hub and MTP Connect Life Sciences Hub. All right, that cheap plug is over. Not for a cheap event though. Cheap tickets, the event, premium. All right, guys, I think that has been a fantastic show. There's been a lot happening in the last month, a lot of really nasty, bad stuff. But hey, we work in cybersecurity for a reason, right?
Indeed.
Yes, we do. It's a challenge every day, and it's actually fun to get a win as well.
It is fun to get a win, and I'm sure that next month when we come back together again for our 3rd episode, we can have some wins to talk about. Well, our next episode will actually be in person again at the Cyber West Summit. So you don't want to miss that one, guys. You want to come see us live, perform the podcast. Get your tickets now. They won't last. I can tell you right now that the tickets, the sales have spiked, and they will go out really, really quickly. All right. So, guys, that's it for another month of West Coast Cyber. I want to thank you all out there in video land. I'm looking at you right now, and in radio land, listening on the podcast, for tuning in. Don't forget, you can hit up our newsletter on westcoastcyber.org. That will be out today as well, alongside this podcast and vodcast. You can check the vodcast on the WA Oz Cyber Innovation Hub YouTube channel as well. And I believe also Ben Aylett's YouTube channel, where it will be streaming from as well. Look, guys, I want to thank you again, Ben and Kate, for joining us this week. It's been fantastic. And, hopefully we've got some real positive stories we can talk about at the summit in a few weeks' time.
Look forward to it.
Looking forward to
No
it.
worries. Okay, guys. As always, adios amigos, and I will see you all later on.